Hey, welcome back to the Engineered Impact Podcast. I'm Dan Korth, and today I want to talk to you about getting started and changing the way that you think about financial freedom and what it will take to get there. And last time we talked about changing the way that you're approaching your efforts to become financially free by shifting the metric that you're using from focusing on your net worth to focusing on your monthly cash flow that your investments are creating. Now, building up investments to provide cash flow is not something that most of us are ever taught or trained to do, right? We're taught all our lives to worry about building a large net worth by socking money away, usually in a qualified retirement plan, and then working hard to pay off all our debts, okay? Our whole careers, we focus on this net worth number that I liken to a mountain of money, okay? Then all of a sudden when we retire, we're expected to know how to turn that mountain of money into income, right? Instead of focusing on the size of our mountain that we've been doing all our lives, right? For all the decades we've been working, all of a sudden, financial success goes from having a large net worth to having enough cash flow to cover our expenses. Well, the question I had when I kind of realized this was, why don't I just start doing that now? Why don't I just start figuring out how to invest for cash flow right now? And when you change that focus, when you change that metric from your net worth to monthly cash flow from your investments, a couple of cool things happen. First off, you can set a target that's actually meaningful and achievable, right? And I shared that, for example, when I was looking at what it would take to retire with the equivalent of $100,000 income a year, I came up with I was going to need a net worth of $8.3 million. Okay, even though I was only going to make about $5 in my entire career. Now, if you flip that and you say, well, if I need $100,000 a year, that's about $8,300 a month in income. Okay, well, $8,300 a month sounds a lot more achievable, right? Way more achievable than $8.3 million. So the first thing is now all of a sudden I've got a number, I've got a target that I can actually believe and feel like I can achieve. Okay, the second cool thing that happens is you realize that retirement or financial freedom is no longer an age, it's a number, right? It's a dollar figure, and as soon as you've got investments that generate enough cash flow to cover your expenses, you win, you're done, right? You get to start making decisions and start spending your time not based on what will provide income, but based on what's most meaningful to you. What's the biggest impact you can have with the hours that you have in your day, right? That's a game changer. So changing that focus, changing that metric from net worth to cash flow is an extremely powerful way to realize that financial freedom can be much closer than we might feel otherwise. Okay. But again, investing for cash flow is a very different way to look at financial planning than what most of us have ever been trained or taught to do, right? It certainly was a big paradigm shift for me. So how do you get started? Well, this may sound like a funny way to think about, how do you make that shift? But the first thing I would recommend is that you take a long, hard look at the people you spend the most time with. Okay. Now, have you ever noticed that people tend to be like the people around them? Right? If everybody that you know is buying a home, odds are you will too. If everybody you know has credit card debt, odds are you do too. If everybody you know is living paycheck to paycheck, odds are you do too. If everyone you know is saving 10% of their income, chances are good you're doing the same thing, right? We tend to model and mimic the people that we spend the most time with. So if you want to change your financial future, if you want to start focusing on building cash flow and creating income now from your investments, so that you can, provide or achieve financial freedom as quickly as possible, then you need to start paying a lot of attention to the behavior of the people around you, right? At the results that the people around you are getting out of their finances. Okay. Now, I'm not sure where this concept came from. I first encountered it while reading one of the Rich Dad books. It was either Rich Dad, Poor Dad or Rich Dad's Cash Flow Quadrant. I don't remember which one, but the concept was you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Okay. And your family, your wife, husband, kids, your entire family counts as one person. Okay. But from there, look at the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Okay. Think about the habits and the behavior of those people. And chances are you're looking at your future. Okay. Because you will over time model the behavior of those people and basically average out to what those people are like. Okay. Now, if you look at that average behavior and see that everyone in that group is focused on building their net worth, that they don't have a sense of how much they need to be financially free, that they have few or no investments producing regular cash flow, then those people probably aren't going to be the ones that can help you become financially free, right? Because they're just not on that path. They're not doing the things that requires. So if you want to change your behavior, you need to start by changing who you hang out with. Okay. Now, does this mean you can't keep going to lunch with your friends from the office or hanging out with the normal group of guys or girls on the weekend? No, it doesn't. But it does mean that you need to start investing in relationships with people that are doing what you want to do and have achieved or are achieving what you want to achieve. Okay. Now, we live in an incredible age of world history where hanging out with the people that you need to hang out with doesn't always have to be in person, right? That's not the only way anymore to build relationships with people. You can identify people that are getting the results that you want to model, and look at what books have they written, what blogs do they write, what vlogs do they publish, podcasts do they publish, follow them on social media. Look at what mastermind groups they've either formed or belong to, and join those groups. All of those are ways that you can get close to people that are getting the results that you want. Start hanging out with them, start learning from them, start seeing how they act, how they think, and mimicking that behavior, modeling that behavior. Okay. So for example, if you're interested in real estate investing, find someone who invests in real estate and start spending time with them. In person if you can, or follow them online and consume the content that they create. Again, learn how they think, learn what books they read, what groups they belong to, what podcasts they listen to, and then start doing those same things, right? Start reading those books, start listening to those podcasts. As you do this over time, what you'll find is that your mindset starts to change, okay? You start to understand things that you didn't before. You start to see the world differently than you did before. You start to act and speak differently than you did before, and you start to see results that you didn't get before, okay? Now, I saw this in my own life in a very massive way back in 2013 when I was really kind of in the early stages of my own financial journey. Prior to that, starting in about 2008 through late 2013, I spent a lot of my time consuming political talk radio and news and just swimming in the sludge of politics, right? And so the people that I followed, the people that I listened to, were all just spewing garbage, right, about politics. And unsurprisingly, I felt hopeless and I felt helpless and angry and powerless to do anything to fix a world that felt like it could spontaneously blow up at any moment because everything was going poorly, right? Well, one day I stopped because it was cankering my soul and it was going to lead to an early heart attack. And I started hanging out with different people. I started listening to audiobooks. I started listening to people who were doing things despite all the challenges and all of the hard things that were happening in the world. There were people who were having success, were doing meaningful things. And I started to find these people and I started to follow them. I started to learn from them. When I could, I'd hang out with them. And as I transitioned to spending more time with those kinds of people who were being proactive, who were doing the things I wanted to do, who were like what I wanted to be, who were getting the kinds of results that I wanted to get, my life changed 180 degrees. I changed completely, right? I went from being hopeless and helpless and angry all the time to being happy and hopeful and feeling empowered and taking action and living my life instead of just sitting in a corner waiting for the world to spontaneously combust, right? So before you start worrying about, what specific investments should you be making or what markets or what strategies do you need to be using so that you can build your stream of cash flow and become financially free, the very first place I would recommend starting is taking inventory of how you spend your time and, most importantly, who you spend it with. Okay. And then start making a plan to change as necessary. If you see things in the people that you spend the most time with that you don't like, that aren't going to lead to the results you want, then it's time to change. Okay. So start to identify people who are doing what you want to do, who are like you want to be, who have the qualities that you want to have and are getting the results that you want to get. Okay. And then start looking at ways that you can spend time with those people. You can get close to those people. You can learn how they think, what they do, what their habits are. Okay. Maybe that looks like, again, reading books they produced, listening to their podcasts, following their social media posts, joining mastermind groups that they're part of. As you do that, as you start to change the people that you spend the most time with, it will have a very powerful influence on the way you approach the world, on your mindset, on your actions, and most importantly, on the results that you get. Okay. So it's kind of sounds like a simple exercise, but really take some time to think about that, to look at the people that you spend time with, or the shows that you watch, or the people you follow on social media, whatever it is. Figure out how you're spending your time and who that's with, and then start to identify people that you can follow, that you can get close to, that will help you get the results that you want. All right. So that's step one. Give that some thought. Think about how you need to shift your network, and then start taking action. Start making the changes that you need to take so that your network starts to look more like what you want to be.